You remember the moment, standing in her family's living room, fresh haircut, best shirt, hands in your pockets because you did not know what else to do with them. Her father shook your hand like he was checking for fingerprints. Her mother kept wiping a counter that was already clean. And the girl you came to see started talking faster because even she could feel the air changing. That was a lot of Black Gen X boys in 1987. You were not just meeting her parents. You were meeting America. Somewhere between "nice to meet you, sir," and the quiet car ride home, you learned something no school textbook was going to teach you. America had rules about who you were allowed to want. Even after those rules left the law books, they stayed written all over people's faces. I am Jermaine, and today we are talking about the psychology of Black Gen X boys who chose white girls. This is the real version, the version where attraction, status, rebellion, wounds, shame, power, and validation all sat in the same car on the way to the movies. For some Black Gen X boys, the white girl was not just a girl. She was proof. Proof that he crossed the line. Proof that he was wanted by a world that had made him feel unwanted. Proof that he could touch.
The girl in the teen movie gets the boom box over the head, and she is white. The girl protected by the room is white. A Black Gen X boy could absorb that before he had words for it. Nobody had to sit him down and say, this is what beauty means. The culture already had the lesson playing on television. By the time the white girl in third period English smiled at him, the image was already loaded in the back of his mind. He did not load it. The culture did. So when she smiled back, he felt more than hormones. He felt a loop close. He felt chosen by the picture. He felt chosen by the symbol. He felt chosen by the thing he had been told was out of reach. That does not mean he hated black girls. That is too cheap. Some black boys loved black girls. Some were just young and confused. But there was a pattern some men did not want to examine. White girls could feel easier because they did not always carry the same cultural mirror. A black girl might see him too clearly. She might know when he was performing. She might call him out if he started acting brand new. She might remind him of where he came from. For a grounded man, that recognition can feel like home. For a boy carrying shame, class anxiety, rejection wounds, or a desperate need to reinvent himself, it can feel like exposure. A white girl might not know what to question. She might think he was cool, different, interesting, funny, athletic, smart, articulate. There goes that word again. Being admired without being examined can feel like safety when you are young. And the boy was often too young to understand what everybody else was projecting onto him. He just knew her locker was near his. He knew she laughed at his jokes. He knew she did not look at him like he was too much. He knew she made him feel seen in a place where he was usually being watched. That is where the story starts. Proximity. A lot of Black Gen X boys who chose white girls were in white schools, white neighborhoods, white gifted classes, white summer jobs, or mostly white social circles. The girls around them were white. The math made the math. At 15, that felt simple. America did not let it stay simple. The moment she liked you back, everybody else entered the relationship. Her friends had opinions. Your boys had opinions, her parents had opinions, your parents had opinions. Auntie had a whole sermon ready and she had not even met the girl yet. Suddenly, the relationship was not only about whether she liked you, it was about what her liking you meant. For some boys, that attention felt dangerous. For some, it felt exciting. For some, it felt like a prize. Prize is the word people do not want to hear, but it matters. A society has spent generations placing white women near the top of the beauty ladder, the softness ladder, the innocence ladder, and the social approval ladder. So when a young black boy got chosen by a white girl, it could feel bigger than attraction. It could feel like interest. It could feel like a rival. It could feel like the world that watched him finally nodded. That is how power gets inside preference. A boy grows up watching the same images over and over. The romantic lead is white.
So when a white girl liked you, those messages could suddenly feel lined up in your favor. You were black enough to be exciting, polished enough to be acceptable, different enough to be interesting, safe enough to bring home. That is a powerful cocktail for a teenage boy. The cocktail got stronger when her father did not approve. Some of you remember that father. The handshake too hard, the way he asked what your parents did. You were only trying to take her to the movies. He looked at you like you were a threat to the bloodline. So you stood there with your shirt tucked in, answering questions like a defendant. Where do you live? What do your parents do? What are your plans after school? How late will you have her back? You answered every question like your freedom depended on it. Part of you knew it kind of did. You were auditioning for the right to be harmless. That is a wild amount of pressure for a 10th grader with $20 in a movie plan. Here is where it gets psychologically tricky. The same disapproval that made the relationship stressful could also make it feel more important. When the world says you cannot have something, getting it feels like victory. When the father looks at you like you do not belong, her choosing you feels like proof that you beat him. That is not love. That is power hunger wearing a varsity jacket. And when you grow up feeling powerless, power can be seductive. Princella L.R. Clark puts a sharper name on it. Her argument is that for some black men, attraction to white women is not only about the woman, it is about what whiteness has been trained to represent.
Easier. Sometimes the white girl was not the destination. She was the escape route. Escape from pressure. Escape from being measured by your own people. Escape from being known too accurately. And black girls felt that. They saw which boys acted brand new around white girls. They saw which boys called black girls loud, difficult, aggressive, or too much. Then praised white girls for being calm, sweet, easy, or different. They saw black boys treat white softness as femininity and black honesty as attitude. They saw the double standard before anybody had language for it. Some black girls got hurt. Some carried tears for years. Because a boy choosing someone else is one thing. A boy choosing someone else while using her to explain what is wrong with you cuts deeper. Maybe he said, I just do not like black girls. Maybe he said, y'all have too much attitude. Maybe he said, white girls are easier. That does something to a girl too. So this story is not only about the boys. It is also about the girls who watch themselves get compared to a standard they did not create. And yes, somebody is already saying, but Jermaine, what if he just liked her? Fair. Sometimes he did. Sometimes it was chemistry. She was funny. She was cute. She liked Prince. Sometimes it was hormones, Aquanet, mole food, and a slow song at a school dance. But patterns still matter.
Black Gen X grew up in a strange middle place. You were born after legal segregation, but raised around people who remembered it. You watched Roots on television, and then went to schools where white girls were treated as the prettiest girls in the building.
You become smoother, harder, cooler, more mysterious, less vulnerable. Years later, you wonder why intimacy feels like performance. Now go to your house. Because her father was not the only one with concerns. Some of you brought her home, and your mother looked at her, looked at you, and looked at her again. Later, you got the talk. Not the talk, the other talk. She seems nice. Long pause. But you know white girls are different, right? You said, different how? Somebody said, you'll see. That was it. You'll see. That was Black parent shorthand for there is a whole history here, and I do not have the emotional energy to unpack it while you are standing in my kitchen smelling like Dracar Noir. Your parents were not always mad. Sometimes they were scared. They knew how quickly the world could turn a white woman's tears into a black man's sentence. You were thinking about the skating rink. They were thinking about survival. Your family saw risk. Your friends saw betrayal. And you were stuck in the middle, trying to figure out if this was love, rebellion, status, attraction, escape, or all of it at once. That is why this topic still hits nerves. It was never just dating. It was identity. I just like what I like. That sentence did a lot of work. Sometimes it was true. Sometimes it was a shield. Sometimes it meant I do not want to explain myself. Sometimes it meant I do not want to admit I was trained by the same system I claim not to care about. Because preferences do not fall out of the sky. They are fed. Reinforced by who gets called beautiful, who gets centered, who gets protected, who gets desired publicly, and who gets criticized publicly. Personal attraction is not fake. Personal attraction has a history. Grown people should be able to examine that without falling apart. The better question is not, are you allowed to love who you love? Of course you are. The better question is, what taught you that love with one woman made you feel more powerful than love with another? That is where the psychology lives. Adulthood changes the way you see it. Some of you married white women, built families, raised kids, did the work, had real love, had hard conversations about hair, culture, police stops, family reunions, code switching, and why your auntie is not mad, she just talks like that. Some of you came back to black women with a different understanding. Because the woman you choose can be a mirror, a window, or a trophy. A mirror shows you yourself. A window shows you another world. A trophy is something you hold up so other people can see what you want. The problem was not loving white women. The problem was when some black men used white women as trophies to prove they had won against blackness itself. That is the wound. Black women felt that wound in many rooms. They watched men who looked like their classmates, cousins, brothers, and fathers treat them like reminders of struggle while treating white women like symbols of escape. That is not jealousy. That is historical pain showing up in teenage dating. And yes, there is humor in it, because some of you acted real deep about the whole thing.
Or the brother who suddenly started listening to soft rock because his girlfriend did. 2 weeks earlier, he was all Public Enemy. Now he is in the passenger seat learning every word to a Bon Jovi song, calling it personal growth. That was love in 1989. You became what the car radio required. Beneath the jokes, there is a serious truth. Some black Gen X boys were trying to solve an old wound with a new girlfriend, trying to feel chosen,
trying to feel powerful, trying to feel free, trying to feel like they crossed into a world that once treated them as invisible or dangerous. But no relationship can heal a wound you refuse to name. That is why the healthiest version of this conversation is honesty. If you loved her, say that. If she loved you, honor that. If the relationship was real, do not let anybody erase it. But if part of you also liked what she represented, be grown enough to admit that too. Maturity is being able to say, I loved the person, and I was also attracted to the power around the person. That sentence might set some people free. It also might make some people mad. Good. That means we are close to the nerve. Because the truth is not that black men like white women. The truth is that some black men were taught to treat white women as proof. Proof they escaped. Proof they leveled up. Proof they could be chosen by the world that rejected them. Proof they had access to something forbidden. Proof they mattered. But proof is a terrible foundation for love. Eventually, proof gets tired. Eventually, the person underneath the symbol wants to be seen. Eventually, the man underneath the performance has to ask himself, who am I when I am not trying to win? That is the real question.
Because if you only feel powerful when someone close to power chooses you, the power was never yours. You borrowed it. Borrowed power always comes with interest. So to the black Gen X men who went through this, no shame. Tell the truth. Some of you were young and in love. Some were trying to be chosen by the thing that made them feel small. The assignment now is not to rewrite the past. It is to understand it. Because once you understand it, you can stop using women as symbols. And you are not a boy in 1989 anymore, trying to prove something in somebody's living room. You are grown now. You can choose love without turning it into a scoreboard. You can examine attraction without pretending attraction has no history. You can honor who you loved without pretending the world around that love was neutral. Maybe that is the lesson that took the longest to learn. The real power was never in being chosen by whiteness. The real power is choosing yourself without needing whiteness to confirm it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.